If you've used color masses as scanning services before, you're already familiar with this interface. The maps for the scan surface are available as a texture set, and clicking on any of them lets us start the tiling process. But what if we have our own custom maps? Can we use those for tiling? Absolutely. Here I have a set of textures for a wooden plank material, a diffuse map, normal, and roughness. To upload them to the platform, we'll first need to create a new material. Let's call it blue planks. Since we have multiple maps to upload, we'll choose the last option from PBR files. We could also use the first two options, blank or from image. They both lead to the same place, but it would take a couple more clicks to get there. Click Create, and now we're back in the familiar window, but this time we have an empty texture set. This is where we'll upload our maps. The platform supports all the common formats, JPEGs, 8-bit and 16-bit PNGs and TIFFs, as well as 16-bit and 32-bit float EXRs. Now, let's assign each map to the correct slot. For the diffuse map, I'll click the diffuse slot and pick the diffuse texture. We can also drag and drop the maps directly into their corresponding slots. The normal map goes to the normal slot, and finally the roughness map to the roughness slot. Once we have everything uploaded, there's one last thing to do. We need to tell the system the width and height of our surface. This is necessary so the platform knows how to scale the material correctly when it's applied to an object. Since I created this texture, I already know the dimensions I was aiming for. In this case, it's roughly 35 centimeters. But if you've downloaded your maps from a third-party service, this information may not always be available. One way to estimate the dimensions is to open the image in an editor like Photoshop. If we go to image size and switch the units to centimeters, we can see a value of 34.68. In this case, that value is correct, but I wouldn't recommend trusting it blindly. It's always a good idea to check against the similar surfaces around you, or use Google Images to get a better sense of how large that type of surface would be in the real world. For this map, we'll use the original value of 34.68 centimeters. If we later realize that the size isn't quite right, we can always change it. Let's click Save, and the maps are now ready for tiling. If you'd like to learn more about the tiling process and the tools available, we have a dedicated video covering that in more detail. For now, let's quickly jump into the tiling editor so I can show you a couple more things. Let's say the size we entered for the maps wasn't correct. We can go to the More Options menu, and here we'll find the command to adjust the texture size. Another useful thing to know, especially if your maps are already tiled, is that you can skip the tiling process entirely. Instead of clicking Add Tiling, we can open the More Options menu next to it and choose the operation we want to use. Let's go with Layer and Mask. I'll make a quick adjustment to expand the weathered area of the wood. Notice that we don't currently have a displacement map. We only have color, normal, and roughness. Once we're happy with the adjustments and submit the changes, the platform will process the maps and generate the displacement map based on the normal map. By the end of the process, instead of 3, we'll have 4 maps in our texture set. But what if you already have a displacement map? That's no problem. You're free to upload it during the initial upload process. But keep in mind that if you edit the maps in any way, the displacement map will be generated again to reflect these changes. If you have any other maps you would like to upload to the platform, you can use some of the additional slots available. These were originally created to accommodate scans produced with the colormass scanner, but we can also use them to upload other types of maps. For example, if we have an ambient occlusion map, we can upload it to the mask slot. And if we have a cross-polarized albedo map, we can use the transmission slot. And that's it. You can now use your custom maps to create materials and apply them to a configurator or rendering scene. For an overview of the color spaces and the type of color information supported by each map, make sure to visit the documentation page linked in the description below.